Okay, here we go with section 8.2. 8.2 is going to be one of the first days we start working with multiplication or division. So section 8.2, we're going to divide that into 2 days. One of them being we're going to work with multiplying by a binomial. And then second day, we're going to work with factoring the greatest common factor and then factoring out a monomial from a binomial. So the first part about this is you have to understand that multiplying by a monomial is just using the distributive property, which is what we've seen a long time ago. So on this particular slide, this is taken from chapter 1. So I take A times B and A times C to write it out this way. Now this next one is just written backwards. It has the A second, but I still take what's on the outside and multiply by everything on the inside. The third one here, this is the subtraction version of this. A times B and A times negative C is negative AC. And then the last one is just backwards. Again, this is not something that you guys have not seen. You've done this for probably quite a while. So we're just going to formalize this and kind of use this in this context. So for this one, so what we do is we take 3. I really like these arrows, by the way. 3 times x, and I take 3 times 8. They've written it down this way, 3 times x and 3 times 8, and then you get 3x plus 8, plus 24, sorry. Now this next one is just backwards, but I'll take negative 7 times 5b, so I got 5b times negative 7, there it is. And then I take negative 7 times negative 8 to get 28. So for us, we're going to take 5 times x, we'll get 5x, we'll take 5 times 7 to get 35. Now I'm going to split my screen so I can see both these two. So now let's do the next one. This is 12 times 3 minus 1/6t. Well, what this problem really comes down to is, can you multiply fractions? So 12 times 3 is 36. Now I take 12 times negative 1/6. So write those down here. This is kind of off to scratch people. So when you multiply fractions, you got two choices. You can multiply straight across and then reduce, or reduce and then multiply straight across. I prefer to reduce first because I want to keep my numbers smaller. So I'm going to divide this by 6 and this by 6 to get 2 and a 1. Now I can multiply straight across. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and 1 times 1 is 1. So this ends up to be negative 2t. Now, I would probably suggest that you change this around to put this in standard form. That's a better answer. Making sure that you put the variable before is always a better answer. So then letter C says we're supposed to put 0.4 plus 1.1c and multiply it by 3. Again, this is the same thing, it's just written backwards. So I'm going to multiply 3 times this. So 3 times 0.4 is 1.2. And 3 times 1.1c is plus 3.3c. Again, this is written backwards, so I probably would take the time to rewrite it and just flip them around. Now D, I gotta tell you, this whole writing it backwards stuff drives me crazy. So I'm gonna write it down the correct way, putting the, well, not backwards. So I'm gonna put the y in front. So negative 1y times 2y is negative 2y squared. I multiply the numbers, but I add those exponents. And negative 1y times negative 1 is positive y. So there you go. Now we're cooking here. We got a couple of them done. I'm going to get back to a single page. Makes those things huge, doesn't it? And let's get out of there. Okay. Now, what happens here when I multiply a negative times this? Well, I like to put a 1 right here because I don't want to get confused. Now it's the same thing. Negative 1 times a is negative a. Negative 1 times positive 5 is negative 5. Again, put that 1 in there. Negative 1 times negative x is positive x. Negative 1 times 31 is negative 31. Now, as you get to do this, you'll start to notice, wow, this isn't that bad. So what I try to look at is, hey, all that I'm really doing is I'm taking this opposite of those signs. So like if I were to follow that pattern, I would say this would be negative 4x and positive 12. All right, but if you're not comfortable there, then let's put that 1 there, and let's put my arrows in. Negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. The m comes along. Negative 1 times negative 9n is positive 9n. Okay, so now we're looking at some problems that are getting a little bit more complicated here. We still have just a monomial, one term, that's 7x, and in this case we're multiplying it by a binomial, the x plus 4. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing times here. 7x times x is 7x squared. This is 1, this is 1, add them up. 7x times 4, and that's it. 7 times 4 is 28, and the x comes in. This one's backwards, so don't give me the heebie-jeebies, but I'll go through it. 2b times b is 2b squared. 2b times 11 is 22b. All right, so now this one, 3m times 10 is 30m squared. 3m squared times m is 3m to the third. I add those exponents. Now this one's backwards, so I would rewrite it to get that. All right, now we're stumping into the big leagues. We're gonna have a little bit more going on here. So still binomial, this is a trinomial, so negative 2 times this. Multiply the numbers, negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. And then add the exponents. X to the first, x to the second is x to the third. Multiply the coefficients. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Add the exponents, x to the second. Multiply the coefficients. Negative 2 times 13 is negative 26. The variable comes along. Here we go with this one. This is just a binomial time, a monomial times a binomial. Multiply the coefficients. Negative 5 times negative 3 is 15. Add the exponents. y2, y3, y5. Go to the next one. Negative 5 times 8 is negative 40. y2, y1, y3. And what happens if, let's say that this one right here is a b instead of an a. So 10a squared times that is negative 60. Okay, coefficients, 10 times that is negative 60. A to the first, a to the second, a to the third. 10 times 2 is 20, that's the coefficients. A to the first times b is just a, b, nothing special there. 10 times negative 7 is negative 70a. And that's it for today. Hopefully all of you guys are doing well, and hopefully we'll see you guys back to class.